Could you go a whole year without speaking? Animal rights activist James Aspey did. For 365 days last year, he travelled the country silently raising awareness about the rights of animals. Just try and shut him up now. He spends his days trying to inspire others to live the compassionate life that he does. And he's been in town for the Perth Vegan Festival. And he joins us. Morning, James.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
Now, over the weekend, catching up with friends, family, whatever, they asked me what's coming up on the show on Monday. And I say, I'm interviewing the vegan of the year. And a lot of people roll their eyes and go, oh, my goodness, what a pain in the ass. Do you encounter that kind of attitude a lot as a vegan?
Yeah, I used to have that same attitude about vegans.
Did you really?
Yeah, like I thought it was extreme. I thought it was totally unnecessary. I didn't understand it. And
yeah. What do you think it is that annoys non-vegans so much about vegans? It's always interested.
I mean, I think it's probably due to an ignorance of what is happening when people are paying for animal products. Because everyone is against animal cruelty. Like 99% of people, most people love animals. So I think veganism is already at the heart of everyone. And because veganism is just about non-violence to animals. So I think that the thing that happens when people come into contact with vegans and they kind of roll their eyes and that is because they think we're doing this extreme thing. But really, you know, and how I see it now, what's changed is that the way I used to live my life was what's extreme. Like, it's extremely violent, it's extremely cruel, it's extremely unnecessary to consume animal products. And I think when you understand that there's no necessity in consuming animal products, and that the reason we do it, the best justification we've got is because they taste good and because it's convenient. I think that when you really understand that and how much violence you can bring to an end by just changing a little bit of your lifestyle and reaching for a different type of milk, like the almond milk instead of the cow's milk at the supermarket. I mean, that's such a mundane and simple choice. To us, it's next to nothing. It means next to nothing. But to them, it's the difference between confinement and freedom, or between life and death. So it's a huge thing. And I think people roll their eyes because they just don't really understand what they're contributing to.
Sure. And maybe it's they like, kind of blinding themselves. I'm not a vegan, and you can probably tell that by the giant box of Lindt chocolates that's sitting next to me. But maybe someone like me likes just not thinking about it, because I don't have to carry out the violence. So
yeah, I was
maybe you
the same.
confront me with what I'm too scared to do. Perhaps.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does seem daunting to be vegan, and sometimes it seems easier just to, you know, if you can't fault the message, because the message is just of non-violence to animals and respect and justice for animals. So if you can't fault the message, sometimes it seems easier to fault the messenger and to bring the vegan down and say, oh, vegans, all vegans are this, all vegans are extreme, all vegans are whatever. But yeah, it is confronting to come up to this because it's something that we don't often think about. And yeah, like you said, you personally don't carry out the violence. You pay someone else to do it for you. But what I would hope that you would make the connection is that every single time you pay someone to commit those mutilations and that torture and that killing of that animal, you are equally responsible for all those cruelties that happened along the way to that animal, because without the demand for those animal products, none of those things would happen.
Sure. If you're just tucking into bacon and eggs at the moment, I am speaking to Vegan of the Year, James Aspey. Can we start at the beginning? Because you decided to sort of take more care with what you ate because you got cancer. Is that what started you off?
Yeah, I got diagnosed with leukemia and lymphoma when I was 17, and I put on about 25 kilos. I was eating McDonald's in my cancer ward in the hospital, and no one said anything. You know, doctors never mentioned it. It's quite interesting now, thinking about it. But that was what got me interested in health, and I became a personal trainer for the next 8 years, working on a cruise ship. And then I met a man who started talking to me about the ramifications of our own personal health when we consume animal products. You know, it's by not consuming animal products, we can reduce our chances of heart disease and cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis, obesity, and so many lifestyle diseases that are some of the biggest causes of our illnesses and deaths right now. And being a personal trainer and inspiring people all the time to make healthy eating choices, this made me look at those things I was telling people to do and my own choices, and I decided to become vegetarian.
Mm.
And upon becoming vegetarian, I learned more about what's happening to animals before they become like that neatly wrapped package on the supermarket shelf. And learning about that, I'd never cared about animals before. I really did not care, because I thought that they didn't have the capacity to care about themselves. I thought that what's the point in caring about their life when they can't even themselves? I didn't understand that, they have a heart and a brain too. They have families and communities as well. They're just different species. I didn't understand that. And as I got more inspired by the animal rights side of things, I stayed vegetarian for the animals, and then I learned it's not just about being a vegetarian and not consuming flesh. It's about all the ways humans are using animals, because there's no right way to exploit someone. There's no humane way to kill someone who wants to live. And, the only thing that made sense was to become vegan, which means just stopping your contribution to it and,
so
being
a
a part
little
of bringing
bit's
it to
not
an end.
enough? Is a little, eating less meat or making certain choices, is that not enough? Does it have to be all in or nothing?
Yeah, I understand. I think if you are making choices to move towards veganism, then I would say great, because that's the goal. Because I think the least we should do is stop hurting them. Live in alignment with your belief that causing unnecessary violence to others is wrong. So the least we should do is be vegan. That's all that means. And if you're going to make steps along the way and not go vegan overnight, okay, I'll applaud those steps, and I'll just ask you to please get there sooner so we can stop contributing to this unnecessary violence.
I want to ask you about this year that you went without speaking that I mentioned at the beginning. So this was something to raise awareness, and it was a campaign that you went on. What was that experience like? Day 38, day 104. How are you feeling not talking? How did you communicate?
Yeah, well, around day 38, I was still having a pretty good time. It was still a novelty. It was still fun.
Yeah.
By about day 50, I was like, okay, this is getting really frustrating, trying to communicate with people. No one's understanding me. I'm playing charades all day long. I was talking, I was moving my mouth so people could lip read me without making a noise, or if they couldn't understand, I was writing things down. And as the year went, I was hoping it would get easier, and I actually found that it got more and more challenging and just became increasingly frustrating. I was learning more. I had more to say. I was just a new vegan at the time. I went vegan the day I started the vow of silence.
Oh, really?
Yes, and so I was learning more and more. I wanted to have these conversations and bring it up with people, and I couldn't. And it was so hard. I've even got a joke how to, when someone's vegan, don't worry, they'll tell you. We want to bring it up.
You couldn't tell anyone.
I couldn't tell people.
And so what did you get out of that experience in the end once you got to open your mouth again?
Well, my whole goal was to raise awareness for the way I was living, for veganism, for non-violence towards others, and animals are included as others. And I was very grateful to be invited onto the Sunrise morning show.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to break my vow of silence live on their show and speak about veganism and point out this hypocrisy we have, that we love animals, we hate animal cruelty, yet we pay people to mutilate and torture and slaughter them. And I was able to talk about that on TV, and that interview went viral and was seen all around the world, millions of times. And so it did raise a huge amount of awareness. So what I got out of it was achieving my goal. And since then, like you said at the start, you've not been able to shut me up. I go around and I just talk about my journey, and I just try to inspire people to make that kind choice.
Okay. Now, Christmas is coming up in just over a week's time, and for a lot of people, for a lot of us, that's the time to eat not just one creature, but many. There's, all kinds of meat on the supermarket shelves at the moment. What are you going to eat on Christmas Day?
Well, I'll actually be in India, so I'll probably be eating some delicious Indian food, I assume.
Alright, nice.
But, last year I was in Australia. We had this big nut loaf, which is kind of resembles the taste and texture of turkey. But obviously no turkeys were killed in the process of making that food. We had sorbets, and we had vegan ice creams for dessert. We had a big vegan cheesecake. We had a big potato bake, like a vegan cheese potato bake. We had different salads. We had burger patties, like lentil burgers. We had burgers that resemble chicken. Obviously, they're vegan. Basically, when it comes to vegan food, you can have burgers, Mexican, Italian, Thai, Chinese, like whatever you want. You can go to any restaurant and have a vegan version of it. If you like ice cream, if you like chocolate, if you like cake, whatever, there's a vegan version generally at the same supermarket you already shop at. So often being vegan is as easy as just moving your hand across the side a little bit or going to a different aisle. You can still eat whatever you want, and the food's delicious, and you'll be healthy. But most importantly, you will not be contributing to the enslavement and torture of innocent beings any longer.
Well, James, maybe there is something to say for it because you are probably the most awake and articulate person that I've had in here this early in the morning. So, James, thank you very much for hanging out this morning. And you will be at FERN, the Frio Environmental Resource Network, tonight. But enjoy the rest of your time in Perth and enjoy India.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me on, Caitlin.
James Aspey there, Vegan of the Year and animal rights activist. And you can find out more about him and where he's going to be at jamesaspey.com.au.